Couple of big home wins for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Leads to some burning questions, like is Andrei Vasilevskiy established himself as the best goalie in Lightning history? And how big are these wins for the Lightning this season? We'll answer all your questions and more on today's episode of Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into today's episode of Locked On Lightning, and thank you all for making Locked On Lightning your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Josh Sperber, and I'll be your host for today's show, and today's show is sponsored by Indeed. Still searching for a great candidate for your company? Don't search, just match with Indeed. And it was a great win indeed for the Tampa Bay Lightning on Saturday, a 4-0 dominant win over the Tampa Bay Lightning. Nick Paul, a goal in the first, and then 3 goals in the third to seal it, including an empty netter from Anthony Cirelli after a Devils defender threw his stick at the puck, trailing Anthony Cirelli. And that was given to Cirelli as an empty net goal. 4-0 the final. The Lightning outscored 2 of the best teams in the league this week at home by a combined 7-1 scoreline with a 3-1 win over the Jets on Thursday. And the team really credited that week off preceding the Jets game as a big reason that they were able to perform so well in their 2 home games this week. Victor Hedman also had some thoughts at the great run that the Lightning hopefully have just started.
I think it's just a lot of our call how we play in these games, and not too much more worrying about who we're playing that night. But obviously, like I said, two great teams. Jersey and Indy and Florida back-to-back on the road, and Winnipeg have lost one game. So it just goes to show the quality that we have in this room when we play like that.
Victor Hedman, as the Lightning captain, certainly knows better than most about the quality of this Lightning team. The whole team knew that the challenges the Lightning had to face to erase that 4-game losing streak. They had to do it against 2 of the best teams in the league. Winnipeg is still the top team in the league. They have 30 points, 5 clear of anyone else, and right behind them, the New Jersey Devils, second with 26 points. So the top 2 teams in the league both went down in pretty decisive fashion for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And it was the Lightning who came out with the win. Couple things that do concern me. We're going to talk more about Braden Point in the third segment because Braden Point's absence has caused somewhat of a shift in lines for Jon Cooper. Again, that's something we'll discuss later. Another player who has been out and who I'm sure the Lightning would like to have back is Cam Atkinson. I think he provides some nice stability to that bottom line. Still, he's the only 4th liner for the Lightning to record a point so far this season. And I think that he's a nice veteran piece, and having a nice group of veterans with usually one of the younger guys like Gonzalez or Isimont, even though Gonzalez did go back to the AHL, he was recalled earlier on Sunday to the Syracuse Crunch. I think that, getting those 2 players back would be big for the Lightning. I don't think I need to tell you guys how much Braden Point means to this Lightning team. He's one of the best goal scorers in the league. He's especially, that's true on the power play. Solid face-off guy as well. He's just someone that the Lightning want to have back soon. And I really hope that can really start a bigger role for the Lightning because it really seemed to find their groove. Jon Cooper talked a lot about how happy he was with the Lightning's defensive play over the last couple of games. And that is something that they can only hope to continue. He also mentioned that the Lightning's defenders have been among the top defensive units in the entire NHL in terms of scoring. So really getting a whole lot on both sides of the puck from the Lightning defenders, of course, led by their captain, Victor Hedman. And obviously, Andrei Vasilevskiy is back. 2 fantastic games in a row, including his second shutout at home. And both times he did it against teams that are in playoff positions. A 3-0 shutout against the Caps in October, and then this 4-0 win against the Devils on Saturday night. So you love to see Vasilevskiy back, but again, we'll talk about him a little bit more later. The Lightning it really seemed like in this game, the Lightning studied the film. They knew what to expect from the Devils. I think part of that is because they played the Devils already. By the way, the Lightning have outscored New Jersey 12-5 in 2 games this season. But they really learned from their mistakes in that first game. I mean, I think a big part of the lack of goals from the Devils was putting Vasilevskiy back in net, but you also have to look at the fact that the Lightning coming into the game were second in the league in hits, one of a small handful of teams with over 500 hits at this point in the season. And the Lightning were playing a physical game, which really is not their MO. I mean, the Lightning certainly have some guys who can bang, and they were still out hitting in the game, frankly, but they were stepping up, and they were going toe to toe with the Devils when they challenged them physically and made those physical plays that the Devils are known for. I got to give props to the Lightning for that. They're definitely starting to increase their physicality as the season has gone on. A late Lightning surge in the first period, and then that late surge in the end of the game. Nick Paul with another fantastic goal. I really think it's the mustache. Beautiful, beautiful representation of Movember from Nick Paul, and he's got a goal and assist in the 2 home games he has wearing it. Emil Lilleberg is in the midst of a 3-game point streak. Again, that kind of plays more to what Jon Cooper was talking about and his praise of the Lightning defense. And another thing that I saw from the Lightning was the deflections, something that you really didn't see all that much of in the first few games of the season. The Lightning Lightning players weren't sacrificing their bodies a lot to try and block some shots, but it seemed like half of the shots the Devils took were deflected away by one of the Lightning players. They blocked 19 shots. The Devils blocked 11. And the Lightning are they've really been working on defense a lot in their practices, and you can tell the work is paying off. The Bolts are stepping up, and they are really turning into, they're a team that if they're firing on all cylinders, if everything is right with them, then they're definitely a team that could be a contender. I think that it's a definite possibility that this Lightning team could be a dark horse if they keep things up. They just got to keep playing their game. They got to keep improving on defense, and they have to keep their offense humming as it has, because there are very few things that you'd like to see changed on the offensive side. The only thing that I noticed over the last couple of games is that the Lightning were just making too many extra passes. I think a prime example in the second period, Jake Guentzel and Nikita Kucherov had a 2-on-1, and both of them made an extra pass. Kucherov passed it to Guentzel when he had a side of the net open, and then Guentzel passed it back. And by that point, Kuch couldn't control the puck, and he couldn't take the shot. I think for the most part, the passing has been better over the last couple games for the Lightning. They move the puck well. They have great team chemistry, and especially when Nikita Kucherov is on the ice, you think you can kind of feel that the forwards especially just know where their players are going to be. It's just a team that is really in sync in a lot of ways, but sometimes you just kind of overthink it passing wise. And that's what I think happened, particularly on that 2-on-1 that I mentioned. And, just that wasn't the only instance. That was just the most obvious instance of it. So I think the Lightning, I like the idea of their unselfish play. I think it's important to move the puck around. It's important to make those extra passes, but there's a point where you're making too many of those. There's a point where you don't need to make the extra pass. If you've got a clean look close to the net, 1-on-1 with a goalie, take it. If you see someone with a better look, give it to them. But if you get that pass in a 2-on-1 situation and you're right in front of the net, shoot it. One of the very few offensive mistakes that I'm kind of harping on from that Devils game. But, I think that the Lightning need to be a bit more careful when making those extra passes. It's important to move the puck around. It's important to get everybody a touch, but too many touches can result in turnovers. And the Lightning defense really stepped up to make sure that none of those bit them in the butt. And Andrei Vasilevskiy was a big part of that defensive prowess, saving all 29 shots against the New Jersey Devils for his second shutout of the season and a 301st career victory on a night where the Bolts were celebrating his 300th. We're going to talk about that celebration. We're going to talk about a question that I've been thinking a lot about since his 300th win. But is Andrei Vasilevskiy the best goaltender in Lightning history? You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including the great state of Florida. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. Join 10 million users and sign up today, because when you do sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play just $5 on Prize Picks. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Every Tuesday, which is tomorrow, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Don't forget to download the Prize Picks app right now and use the code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDONNHL, and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Welcome back into Locked On Lightning, and we're going to discuss the goalkeeping. Last night was a multi-cat shutout, as both the Tomcat in Syracuse, Matt Tompkins, and the big cat, Andrei Vasilevskiy, recorded a shutout as the Crunch took a win, and the Lightning, of course, took that 4-0 win against the Devils. The beginning of the game was marked by a couple of celebration videos, a golden stick gift for Andrei Vasilevskiy, and a lot of former Bolts and some of the great goalies of the game just praising Andrei Vasilevskiy. I thought, honestly, my favorite part of it all was the fact that two pretty iconic goalies on the two franchises were the first two to have their thank you videos air. Martin Brodeur, Devils legend, and Nikolai Khabibulin, who is one of 3 goalies that we'll be talking about in this segment, because it really seems like we're down to a top 3 when it comes to best goalies in Lightning history. You have Nikolai Khabibulin and Ben Bishop, both eligible for the Lightning Hall of Fame, and of course, Andrei Vasilevskiy. And I think, honestly, I'm ready to say right now that Vasilevskiy is the best goalie in Lightning history. I think the stats speak for themselves in a lot of ways. Fastest to 300 wins, not just the fastest, the first goalie to ever do it in fewer than 500 games. 31 fewer games than Jacques Plante, who at one point was considered the greatest goalie in NHL history. I mean, to be compared to guys like that and to be on a list with guys like that means you're doing something right. And a couple of more stats about Vasilevskiy. He had his 36th career shutout in his 491st career game, which means almost 12% of his wins are shutouts. 7% of the games Andrei Vasilevskiy has played in ended up in a Vasilevskiy and Lightning shutout. Now, those numbers sound kind of small, but I mean, just to be, around 10% when it comes to shutouts in the total games played and over 10% of your career wins being shutouts, that's pretty remarkable. And, Khabibulin and Ben Bishop certainly have the stats. The one thing that Vasilevskiy easily beats them on is just longevity. Khabibulin played 4 years with the Lightning. It was his tied for third longest tenured team, as he played 5 years with Phoenix and Chicago, and then 4 years with the Lightning and the Oilers. And he played the third most games of his career for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Ben Bishop played 5 years, was still the longest 10. He was still with the Bolts for longer than any other franchise in his career. The prime years of his career, he was the top 10 in the Hart Trophy voting twice, top 10 in the Vezina top 3 in the Vezina Trophy voting in 2 of his 4 seasons, and All-Star in 3 of his 4 seasons with the Tampa Bay Lightning, excluding the deadline, the trade deadline year in 2016-2017, when he was traded away. So to the Kings, by the way. So I think, and Vasilevskiy, similar All-Star stats. He won a Vezina. Khabibulin won 1 Stanley Cup. Vasilevskiy won 2. In those simple terms, if you just look at the numbers, it seems like it's already established that Vasilevskiy is the best goalie in Lightning history to this point. At some point, someone may change that, but Vasi has already won more games than Bishop and Khabibulin played for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And he is almost at his 500th game. He has played more games with the Lightning than Bishop and Khabibulin combined. Them combined get to a little over 400. And those are 2 guys that are up for the Lightning Hall of Fame as well. So I think it's pretty safe to say at this point that Vasilevskiy is the best goalie in Lightning history. I don't think that's a very controversial topic either. But he has just been such a key part to everything that this team does. And he really did seem so grateful for not just the celebration and his whole team honoring him, but for the fact that celebration ended in more celebration with career victory number 301.
I thought the guys played well. Obviously, the team gave me a few gifts before the game, and the most important gift that they played great tonight in front of me, and they helped me out get another shutout. So I don't put too many gifts tonight. I feel.
And that's also just listening to Vasilevskiy talk after the game yesterday. That's just the mark of a great player. A guy that, he's got all the stats, he's got all the numbers that prove he is goated, or, whatever you want to call it. But all he cared about was the team winning. He looked emotional on the ice, definitely told the media how, in not the same words, but that he was a little bit overwhelmed with some of the gift giving. Seeing guys like Mikhail Sergachev, Steven Stamkos, and his son, which, by the way, was the highlight of the game. Steven Stamkos' son congratulating his uncle Andrei in a Vasilevskiy mask was just an incredible moment. And, it's just the mark of a great player that you can not focus on that you can just focus on, all right, I've done some great things, but today we need to win games. Tomorrow we need to win games. The rest of the season we need to win games. And that's the only thing on Vasilevskiy's mind right now, is continuing to win. He even said on Thursday in the locker room, let's get 300 more. His father is talked about in his congratulatory video to his son Andrei that he's ready for 350, 400, and etc. Vasilevskiy is just a serial winner, and he's all, with all the accolades, with all the wins, to put it bluntly, with everything that Andrei Vasilevskiy has already done for the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think it's safe to say that he is the greatest goaltender to step in between the pipes and wear a Tampa Bay Lightning jersey. So just further congratulations for Andrei Vasilevskiy. And, I think you can go around wearing that best goalie in Lightning history on your chest. So now the next segment, we'll talk about The Lightning scoring some goals. Should they do it with 12 forwards and 6 defensemen, as is conventional, or like they've done the last 2 home games, which has worked pretty well, 11 forwards and 7 defensemen? We'll break down some of the Lightning lines when we return here on Locked On Lightning. If you have back pain or any kind of other kind of pain that is hurting you and hampering your ability to do daily tasks, I recommend going to the Joint Chiropractic. They have 23 locations in the Tampa Bay area, including some that are within a couple miles of Amalie Arena. But no matter where you live in the Tampa Bay area, there is going to be a place for you. I went in for my back pain, and I was able to, spend some time before they actually stretched me out, did any kind of work on me. I was able to just talk to the staff because initially I wasn't that comfortable going into a chiropractor. It was my first chiropractic appointment, and they were so great. They made me feel at ease. The stretches that they did on me worked like a charm, and they not only gave me a stretching program to help keep my back right and help keep away the pain, but they also showed me ways and, just ways that I can sit and simple things like that, small little changes that I can make that are going to help my back stop hurting me. So if you go to Buccaneers.com, fans, contests, and promotions, you can get your first visit for $19. Tell the Joint Chiropractic that Locked On Lightning sent you, and you can get your way started to less pain, no matter where that pain is on your body. And another source of pain, job interviewing. But we are driven by the search for better. When it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. So ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates even faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree that Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Any listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. So join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. To do that, just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support this show by saying you heard about Indeed here on Locked On Lightning. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. And if you need to hire, you need Indeed. We are back, and the Tampa Bay Lightning are ready to go. They had 2 great wins against 2 of the top teams in the NHL, and as I mentioned earlier, at this point, the top 2 teams in the NHL record-wise. But they've been doing that without some of their key players. Cam Atkinson, Braden Point, both scratched in the last 2 games. With Braden Point out, we have seen Jon Cooper do something that he usually doesn't do at home. Change up the lines from a conventional 4 even forward lines of 12, 6 even defense lines, or 3 even defensive lines of 6. But the last 2 games, he went 11 forwards and 7 defenders to try and cover for Point's absence. Here's what Jon Cooper said about his line methodology.
It's something we've used quite often, but it's worked out. We played really well for 2 games against 2 really good teams. So it's not something I do a ton at home. I do that more on the road, but just the way I thought we could make things work. The guys did a heck of a job, and surely though it makes me definitely pay attention. It's a little different, harder to roll the lines when you only have 11 forwards.
So I think there are definitely some benefits and drawbacks of this 11-7 thing. Well, aside from the fact that the 7th defender in Saturday's game was Darren Radish, and he scored a pretty crucial goal. Second goal of the night, 39 seconds into the 3rd period. Radish ripped one and got himself a goal. Victor Hedman got a goal on the power play. So the defensive players for the Lightning are no strangers to being involved in the offense, even if it's kind of pushed up a little bit in a hybrid third defenseman kind of on the wing-ish role. And it's been done on a couple of road games before. I think Saturday was definitely the second game in a row, but I think it was like the fifth or sixth time this season that Cooper has gone to those 11-7 lines. Now, I am always just more comfortable when things are even. I think it, just in terms of line changes, which is something that the Lightning have been working on in practice for a lot the last couple of weeks. That was a big target for the Lightning in their off week when they had a week between games. That was a big focus. And they were doing that again ahead of the Devils game. So, even Jon Cooper admitted that it's a little harder to roll the lines and make the changes when, when the lines aren't even. But I think it has certainly worked. I mean, the Lightning know how to do it. They can adapt. And it certainly worked when the Lightning don't have that extra just dynamite center like they normally do in Braden Point as a face-off guy. And I think that, they can still rotate guys to replace him. I personally, just in general, favor that 12-6, but I really like the 11-7 because you never know when they're going to do it. It's just, I think, a nice kind of a chess match, like strategy kind of gambit that Cooper is playing here. It just gives you a different look at the team. And, when you're watching the game of hockey, a lot of lines can look like they're doing the same thing. It can be pretty easy. It can be pretty easy to defend, even with a strong offensive team like the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think having that 11-7 just it makes you wonder who's going to push up extra in the attack, and especially when you have guys, like Victor Hedman who can put the puck in the net, Darren Radish, who has 3 points already this season. When you have defensemen that are eager to get into the offensive attack and can do so successfully, why not throw an extra one out there from time to time? It's especially helpful for the Lightning, I think, as well, because of the fact that defense has not been their strongest suit this season. Plus, you've got a decent amount of defenders that can be rotated in. And a lot of times, it was just Radish and Perbix trading scratches on the third line. This way, everybody gets to play. And you still have that kind of, you'll still have that offensive firepower. I mean, you don't see these 11-7 games that the Lightning are using. That doesn't really take much away from their strong offense. But especially in the last two games, the defense was incredible. They gave up a tipped-in power play goal against Winnipeg, and then they shut the Devils down. One goal in the last two games, both with the 11-7 lines, I think is excellent. I mean, that's just what you want. And throwing more defenders on there just gives the Lightning a more defensive mindset, because with this Lightning team, no matter who's on the ice, the goals are going to come. The team is just that good on offense, and their offense runs like a well-oiled machine, and that's fantastic. That's exactly what you want to see from the Lightning. Having that extra defender on there might push them into more of a defensive mindset, and I think that could help, because the Lightning do clearly need some just extra help on defense. They definitely need some extra help on defense. And I think adding an extra defender makes them kind of think more defensively on the line, that they know they've got an extra guy in there. So on that line, they can kind of mix things up when they make their offensive attacks and when they go into the other zone. So I think most of the time you'll see the Lightning use the conventional 4 lines of 3 forwards, 3 lines of 2 defenders, instead of the 11-7 that we've seen the past couple of games. But I definitely expect it to be in the mix. So keep an eye out for that extra Lightning defenseman as we continue the season. And that is going to do it for this episode. I want to thank all of you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen today. For your second listen, make sure to check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey. become a fantasy hockey expert, and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Josh Sperber. I want to thank all of you for tuning in once again. Please make sure to give us a like, a follow, a subscribe, no matter what platform you're listening or watching on. We really appreciate the support of the fans because we do this podcast for you, the fans. So fans, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a great start to your week.